And a regional passenger jet from Kansas has crashed into Washington's Potomac River after colliding mid-air with a military helicopter. The crash occurred near Reagan National Airport outside of Washington, D.C. as the plane approached the runway. According to Federal Aviation Administration officials, a passenger aircraft carrying 64 people collided mid-air with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter while on approach to Reagan. As per defense officials, 3 soldiers were on board the helicopter. The plane, American Airlines Flight 5342, had 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board. PSA Airlines was operating the flight for American Airlines. It had departed from Wichita, Kansas, which there are no confirmed casualties at this time. But Senator Ted Cruz of Texas has said on social media that, and I'm quoting him here, "We know there are fatalities," though he did not know or say how many. The massive emergency response is underway in D.C.'s Potomac River. All takeoffs and landings have been halted at Reagan National Airport. Washington's police has also said that multiple agencies are responding to the crash. According to an official, dozens of firefighters are engaged in dive operations at the crash site in the Potomac River. Now, President Donald Trump has issued a statement saying he has been fully briefed on the terrible accident. He has thanked the first responders and said that he is monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise. Now, there has not been a fatal U.S. passenger airline accident since February 2009, but a series of near-miss incidents in recent years have raised serious safety concerns. All right, to know more, we're now being joined by Seth Miller from New Hampshire. He's the editor at PASEX Aero and aviation journalist. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I'd like to ask you if you could bring us any latest information that we have so far.
I think from that intro, most of the information that you've shared is what we know as confirmed so far. There have been some reports of survivors. There's been some interpretation that maybe those were bodies rescued rather than or recovered rather than rescued. So there's some discussion there as to what that really means, and we're waiting to hear more from officials. But at this point, it is very much a search and rescue operation and hoping to find survivors in the river.
And is there any information of how this accident did occur?
At this point, listening to some of the recordings from air traffic control, which are not guaranteed to be the full story, but are certainly part of it, it would appear that the jet was on approach to runway 33 at Reagan Airport, and the helicopter was traveling, and that's sort of headed towards the north. The helicopter was headed southbound and was cleared to pass behind the jet. The pilots of the helicopter indicated that they saw the jet and they thought they were lined up to pass behind it, and ultimately it appears crashed into the jet instead of passing behind it.
Right, and this involves the defense helicopter. Is there no way that there could have been a way that the airplanes or the pilots could have been informed about it beforehand?
They should have. Visual confirmation is always the best option there and the most pressing one, but beyond that, there are, on commercial aircraft, certainly there are collision avoidance systems that warn you if other aircraft are in the area or you're headed towards them. I do not know if the helicopter would have also been equipped with that. And
right, you're also an aviation expert. Could you also give an idea of what could have been a possible problem there of miscommunication, perhaps, if you can brief us on that?
Yeah, at this point, again, we'll have to wait to hear what the ATC recordings are and the pilot transcripts come out. But the airport was using 2 different runways for landings at the time. And so it is possible that the helicopter pilots, when asked if they saw the plane, saw the one landing a bit further to the south on a more northerly course and did not see the other jet that was coming in around to runway 33. They sort of come on a similar path headed north, and then to land on 33, you turn slightly right and then curve back around to the left to land. And so if the helicopter pilot did not see that jet sweeping around to make that landing, that could have been a major factor in not recognizing the traffic and not realizing the situation they were about to crash into.
Right, and of course, we also mentioned in our report. Now, this is, of course, there has never been a fatal passenger airplane accident in the U.S. since February 2009, but a series of near-miss incidents in recent years have raised serious safety concerns. What do you have to say about that?
This is a terrible tragedy. I think we don't know where to put the cause yet, and so I want to be careful there. That said, the near misses or near incidents have been significant. There's been a lot of concern about how many aircraft are in any given airspace and what the load on the air traffic controllers is. The NTSB will lead this investigation, and we'll speak to the controllers amongst everything else with that investigation. We may ultimately get a recommendation that we need more controllers or fewer aircraft in the airspace as a result. But at this point, really hard to say for sure where we're going to go with that.
Absolutely. As you say, of course, we do have very little information, and we'll be waiting to see what actually had occurred. And a probe, of course, we'll see if a probe has been put into knowing what actually has happened. Of course, as you say, perhaps the rescue operation is ongoing as of now. Any information on any probe as to what might be the reason for the crash?
Yeah, the FAA has issued a statement indicating that the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, will lead the investigation here. They are the preeminent organization that does that in the United States and often participates in investigations on a global scale. So they will perform that investigation. Typically, the initial report comes out relatively quickly, within a few days to weeks. The final report often takes many months, if not more than a year. So we'll get some information relatively soon, but it will take a bit of time before we really have a full report on what happened and what recommendations or actions could be taken to help prevent this in the future.
Right. So, of course, we're looking at the visuals. We see the rescue operations are ongoing. But thank you so much, Mr. Seth Miller, for joining us and giving us the latest information on this.
My pleasure.